cult-like behavior. I'll ask my panel what's really going on here. Roads and rivers. Memphis making big announcements on both this week, from big plans for the Memphis riverfront to a new way to save money on road repairs. And Governor Bill Haslam on the governor wannabes. Bill Haslam speaking to the Collierville Chamber of Commerce this week, and he expressed some serious doubts about the men and women who want his job. We'll get to all of that in a moment, but first let me introduce my panel for you. We have Ryan Poe, the political reporter for the Commercial Appeal. Lee Mills is the Shelby County GOP chairman, and Local 24 political analyst and commentator Otis Sanford is here too. We're going to start with Corker, guys, and several comments that got him on making national headlines yet again relating to the president. And he really wanted something to be done to hamper the president's ability to impose tariffs because of his concerns about the effect some of these tariffs might have on jobs in Tennessee. Wanted an amendment desperately to address that, and was basically told by his fellow Republican senators that was not going to happen, and he was not happy about it. So let's look at some of these sound bites, and then we'll get reaction on the other side.
I mean, it's almost becoming a cultish thing, isn't it? It's not a good place for any party to end up with a cult-like situation as it relates to a president.
A lot of them would vote for it if it came to vote, but no. Gosh, we might poke the bear. It's the language I've been hearing in the hallways. We might poke the bear. The president might get upset with us as United States senators if we vote on the Corker Amendment. So we're going to do everything we can to block it.
So there you see the two that have met before. They have sometimes been chummy, other times not so much. It's hard to kind of read what's the reality here on this one, Otis, for me.
Well, as you say, sometimes they've been chummy, sometimes they have not been chummy. Let me take you back very briefly to the 2016 Tennessee presidential primary. Trump won that, while there were other people who were having a Stop Trump movement, including Governor Haslam, including others who were supporting Marco Rubio. And Bob Corker came out and said then that those folks need to focus more on listening to the American people and less on trying to stifle their voices. He was basically saying, Trump is on the move, get out of his way. Well, all right, 2 years later, and for the last year, he has really been hammering Donald Trump, calling him dysfunctional and calling the White House an adult daycare center. He is really upset that nobody is challenging him on things that Bob Corker thinks is good for the American people that Donald Trump is hampering, and that's what's going on here.
Well, also back then, as we recall, there was a lot of talk about Bob Corker might be Secretary of State. He might be considered for the VP nod. And when you really look at his voting record, there are very few, if any, times where he's actually voted against the president. Right. So my point is, does the rhetoric match what he's actually doing? Lee Mills, you take this on. What do you think?
Probably not. This is a hard thing, right? I don't know if this is Corker's last stand or something like that, but Senator Corker is passionate. Obviously, he's passionate. You saw the speech. He believes in what he's saying, and this is just something family members don't agree all the time. And this is one point of contention that they don't agree on. They don't agree on tariffs. But in my mind, the president has the right to do it under law. He can do it. And unless they change the law, which I guess his amendment was trying to do, then we let President Trump do the tariffs, and he can take the credit and he can take the blame.
But one family member that does always fall into line and always seems to be in agreement is the Trump family. And Trump Jr. said, if it's a cult, it's because they like what my father is doing. You see real Americans actually winning for a change, conservatives actually getting things done. So that doesn't surprise me a whole lot. But you do wonder, when you talk about the larger Republican family, Bob Corker says there's a lot of talk behind the scenes, a lot of frustration behind the scenes among Republicans, but this unwillingness to do anything publicly.
Well, I think that there is a bit of a disconnect between what's going on in public and what's going on in private. There's more criticism, I think, behind closed doors than there is in public right now, especially going into getting closer to the election. I think that's a big factor. President Trump, he is the sitting president, and I think it's pretty standard, I think, for the politicians to get behind their candidate.
Otis, you raised the possibility of is Corker kind of waiting to see what happens with the midterm elections and maybe positioning himself for a challenge come 2020? What do you
I had that discussion earlier last week with a leading Republican in this community who said that that's something to think about. What if the Republicans crash and burn in the midterm elections? They lose the House and maybe lose the Senate, who knows? And then Trump is, with all these other problems, facing possible impeachment by a substantial Democratic-controlled House. Then Corker could be someone waiting in the wings to try to pick up the pieces. I honestly don't think Corker's that far off when he talks about cult-like with some Republicans. Let's just be honest about this. He can do no wrong, and he even said on Friday that he likes Kim because people sit up and whenever he speaks, and I want my people to do that. That sounds like an emperor or a dictator saying that. There is some cult-like activity going on in the Republican Party.
And here I thought this was going to be a civil conversation. Cult-like is when you have school children singing songs about President Obama. That's a cult. This is simply a party that is behind the president, that's doing good things, the economy's booming. There's more jobs out there than there are people to fill them. And that's what people are rallying around, not a cult.
Well, it was a Republican who said it, not a Democrat. A Republican said it's a cult-like situation going on.
Well, he's in my family, and I'll have to disagree with him.
I think I have actually seen a video of school children singing to President Trump as well. So.
To President Trump, not songs about him.
Well, no, about him too.
Well, let's talk about just you have a feel for this, Lee, more than any of us would in the private conversations. And I'm not asking you to name any names here, but among the establishment Republicans and non-establishment Republicans, what are you hearing in West Tennessee as to how does that divide?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. You said the word establishment. So you have the establishment types who are, entrenched in their ways, so to speak. They're more, upright, proper, so to speak, if I'm making a generality. And then you have the really conservative Tea Party types who are just, we're going to break the door down, we're going to do things. So, yes, the establishment people are a little, they're like, we don't know what to do with Trump. Mm-hmm. But the people, the conservatives and the Tea Party folks are like, we sent him in there to blow things up, and he's blowing things up, and hoorah.
And you as chairman are supposed to stay neutral through all of that, so I commend you for your efforts.
Yes.
I do too.
Okay, we'll leave it there for now. When we come back, we're going to talk about road improvements and river improvements for the city of Memphis. That's in just a moment.
Make tomorrow awesome with Xfinity Internet. Call 1-800-653-9090 today. And do what you love online with Xfinity Internet for only $19.99 a month for 12 months. Xfinity Internet delivers the speed you need to surf, stream, and download. Plus, with Constant Guard by Xfinity, your family will get unmatched online security, and it's included at no additional cost. Call 1-800-653-9090 today and get speed, security, and value from Xfinity for an amazing price. Xfinity delivers reliably fast internet speed and the best in-home Wi-Fi experience. Get started with Xfinity Internet for just $19.99 a month for 12 months, now with more speed. It's all backed by our 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's risk-free. Experience speed at a great low price from Xfinity. Call 1-800-653-9090. That's 1-800-653-9090. Xfinity, the future of awesome.
So we were on our cruise, and I saw a little something that I just had to get for you.
What?
Honey.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Whoa.
We just knew.
You shouldn't have.
Well, it was a little bit pricey.
Expensive.
But you are worth it.
I have no words.
Don't spend too much on chicken. At Sanderson Farms, you get fresh quality chicken for an honest price. Sanderson Farms.
Local 24 News is your local election headquarters. I'm Richard Ransom.
And I'm Katina Rankin. In April, we brought you the first of the Tennessee Governor Debate Series from here in Memphis. Now, it's on to Nashville for round 2, focusing on legislative and crime issues.
It is a unique opportunity for you to hear directly from candidates on the issues that matter most to you before heading to the polls.
So, join us for the next Tennessee Governor Debate Series live from Nashville, Wednesday night at 7, only on your local election headquarters, Local 24 News.
You're watching Local 24 This Week with Richard Ransom.
Road and river improvements next. Let's first start with big plans for the Memphis Riverfront. Carol Coletta has kind of taken over what used to be the Riverfront Development Corporation with some ambitious plans and addressing some long-time criticisms. How many times do you have folks visit from out of town who say, boy, this riverfront has so much potential? I mean, they've been using that word for decades, literally, and she really feels that we now have a plan that will actually help the riverfront live up to its potential, up to $65 million in private and public funds, giving it more topography, some hills, some more trees, etc., but not going to interfere with the larger venues like Memphis in May when they come. So what is the likelihood of this coming together, Ryan? You covered the city beat here. That's a lot of money, and it seems like we kind of loosely use the term public and private funds, and how much from both? And
yeah. Well, I think a lot of it will come from private funds. You see private funds funding the lighting on the Harahan, the Big River Crossing Bridge, on the I-40 bridge. People want to invest downtown, and for good reason. I think they've got a lot of people lining up behind St. Jude and their expansion right now, and that's kind of driving that downtown investment. So the plan is to activate the riverfront, including Mud Island, where they're going to put an aquarium, they say, with a bridge over to Tom Lee Park. So if they do all of that together, you could really see just downtown boom, and that's what they're hoping for.
It is exciting. The timetable, would this initial plan that Carol is talking about, would that come first? Because I know they're saying within a couple of years that could become a reality.
You know, I think they're still having conversations about the timing, so I don't know that they've laid that out exactly. They're still in conversations.
Okay, all right. What do you think about this effort? Lee, I'm sure you're all for the private funds rather than tax dollars.
Yes, that's the key for me. It's an outstanding plan, what I've seen. I think they should do something. My problem is Memphis, as many people, if you bring a lot of people to Memphis, which we hope to do, bring in the tourism revenue, what good is it to have a beautiful park if they get shot going to it? We need to use public funds for public safety and things like that. I'm all for it as long as this is private funds.
Well, go ahead.
And I was going to say, it actually doesn't take from police or fire because it's a tourism development zone. So it only, that would be money that would go to the state from the sales tax dollars. So what we're doing is we're keeping it here and then reinvesting it in that area.
Right. But,
so just to
but there's some taxpayer money. I'm a taxpayer in Tennessee with a sales tax. I'm a taxpayer to the federal government. So any of that money that we can use to do things that everybody can benefit from, then I'm all for that. But the public funds is a big thing for me.
Well, I mean, obviously there's going to have to be some public funds, and there's some capital improvement project money that's also being talked about for this as well. But we can't look at this just in a vacuum. Look at what St. Jude is doing over near their campus and all of the infrastructure and improvements that they're making that kind of wrap around down to the riverfront. This is all part of that. And it's all part of making downtown a lot more attractive, a lot more appealing. I don't know when this was first talked about, whether it was under Benny Lindeman, who was former the CEO and president of the Riverfront Development Corporation, now who has a new name, or did it, but I do know that this is part of Carol Coletta's vision. To make this more appealing, more user-friendly, and the idea of some trees and aesthetic beauty down on Tom Lee Park is a good thing. And I think it is right to have public-private partnership money involved in this.
It always raises the specter, though, and I don't know if it's always fair, but this very same week we had Dorsey Hobson saying we're down $500 million in deferred maintenance for our schools. We'd like at least $90 million to fix the leaking roofs in some of the schools. And you always hear from viewers via email or on social media, they'll say, you know, we struggle to find the $90 million for that, but we know we're pretty much going to find that $65 million for the riverfront. And it always raises that balancing act.
And anytime government's involved, you take the 65 is going to turn into 100, and 24 months is going to turn into 48 months.
But that was under the old RDC, I believe.
The Beale Street Landing project that went over budget by, what, double? And took about twice as long to get finished.
But the schools are county responsibility. The city has no responsibility anymore to fund schools. Now, whether they do it out of the goodness of their heart, that's fine. But if anybody's complaining about what's not going on in the schools, they need to talk to county government, especially the county commissioners, and get that done. Because I agree, we can't have our schools falling apart while we're sitting under a tree at Tom Lee Park.
Brian, another issue that came up this week is the city thinks has found a way to save about $1 million by having the state now be responsible for fixing and keeping clean the state highways that run through the city of Memphis, like Poplar Avenue, like Austin P, like Jackson Avenue.
Summer, a whole bunch.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and 6,000 miles worth, I believe. So up until now, until this decision by the city administration, all the other cities in Tennessee have already been doing this for years and years. And my question is, what took Memphis so long? If they can save money by doing this and hand it over to the state.
That was a long-time contract. That was a long time ago that they actually signed that. And they just kind of continued it with the idea that, well, Memphis will invest and the state will invest and together we'll have a better road system. It hasn't turned out that way. What has happened is Memphis has invested, and the state says, oh, well, Memphis invests, so we don't need to invest. And what happens is Nashville's getting a better service than Memphis is, according to the city officials. So that's the thought. We should not be doing something that is the state's responsibility to do.
You're thinking on this, Lee, they say the potholes and the litter will both be picked up 15 to 20% faster than, or taken care of that much faster than previously.
We would only hope so, because there are some big potholes there.
I hope so too. And again, if the state is getting additional roads and bridges money because of gasoline tax and some other things, they should be in a position to take care of this maintenance. Let's hope they do. I hope that bureaucracy doesn't get in the way. We'll just have to wait. I'm with Lee here. We'll have to wait and see if that happens.
And I will say, council members are a little concerned that the state isn't going to give Memphis as good a service as Memphis can provide, and so they're watching that very carefully.
And then the city would get the blame for it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we do know that there was quite a negotiation, right? It took a long time for them to get this situated with the state before actually ending the contract.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long it took.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been in talks for a while.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll leave it there. When we come back, we'll talk about the governor's race here in Tennessee. Bill Haslam coming to this side of the state, making some comments about those who want to be governor. We'll talk about that right after this.
Having moderate to severe plaque psoriasis is not always easy. It's a long-distance run, and you have the determination to keep going. Humira has a proven track record of being prescribed for over 10 years. It's the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists. More than 250,000 patients have chosen Humira to fight their psoriasis, and they're not backing down. For most patients, clearer skin is the proof.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Join over 250,000 people who have chosen Humira. Ask your dermatologist about Humira and go.
Are you a female who is feeling depressed and want help, but are concerned about the side effects of pills, or have tried an antidepressant that didn't work as quickly as you'd hoped? We are seeking women ages 18 to 65 who'd like to try an investigational medication designed to work differently than current treatments. Call or visit cnshealthcare.com about this research study for females who are depressed. CNS Healthcare, where research is the answer.
Finding designer furniture to fit your dreams can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. At Value City Furniture, we made big changes, so you have more options, and we're always adding more.
Introducing designer looks like plush with super deep seating, 100% feathers, and available in 30 fabrics and colors. You've seen this look elsewhere, but not at our price. That's the big difference.
So check us out. You're going to love what you see. Value City Furniture. Designer looks with one big difference.
Back in our final segment to talk about the governor's race a little bit, made newsworthy because of a visit by Governor Bill Haslam to the Collierville Chamber of Commerce this week. And he shared with those who were there, including the commercial appeal, just maybe some disenchantment he has with how the governor's race is going. He said there's a governor's race going on now where there's a whole lot of conversation about things that don't really matter as much in what you do in the governor's office. He said there's a whole lot of discussion about immigration and building a wall in Mexico and sanctuary cities. All of that, to be honest with you, is a federal issue and rarely comes across the governor's office. He'd like to see more conversation about the future of TennCare, more conversation about education and TN Ready and those types of things. Legitimate point or not? Lee?
Oh, yeah. And first of all, when I say this, I'm saying it sarcastically. Governor Haslam has been an outstanding governor. I love Governor Haslam. But the more salacious things are, the more people pay attention, right? If somebody running for governor says, I promise to sign all the bills with blue ink, that doesn't grab headlines. These candidates know what issues people are talking about. They're talking about border, they're talking about tax reform, they're talking about all these other issues, and that's what they're going to run on, whether or not it's a state or a federal issue. They're running on that.
Well, and including the ads where they cozy up to Trump just about as close as they can. Clearly, they do polling that says those are the issues that Republicans are concerned about, whether I can have any impact on it or not.
Well, no doubt about it. As I was telling Lee earlier, if any of these candidates get any closer to Donald Trump, they'll be like the old Groucho Marx thing, I'll be in back of you. I mean, come on. These guys and ladies are talking about things that, Lee is right about this point, hot-button issues that they have absolutely nothing to do with. I think Bill Haslam gave a little backhanded slap to all of them, including Randy Boyd, who used to be in his cabinet, Economic Development Commissioner. They're all talking about border and wall and sanctuary cities, and they're not talking about the real issues. Bully for Governor Haslam for setting them straight. He basically said, don't vote for any of those folks, because he said vote for people who are talking about local ishes.
And what does that mean? How do you interpret that, Ryan?
You know, I know Governor Haslam is supporting Randy Boyd. I'm not sure where, how to interpret that other than to say that, Governor Haslam is making a very valid point that a lot of those issues don't matter in the grand scheme of things, or rather he can't do much about them. But at the same time, he can do something about them. On immigration, for instance, they had the Sanctuary Cities bill that banned sanctuary cities, and Governor Haslam had a choice to veto or not, and he allowed it to go into law without his signature. So there are, it's not like those issues are not important and not that the governor doesn't have an effect on them.
One thing that came out on Friday was a report on just how the candidates are spending their money on advertising so far. $23 million to this point statewide, $2 million from PACs, $21 million by the candidates, and Boyd is spending by far the most with $9 million, airing spots on TV. Black was next with $7 million, Lee at $3 million, and Harwell was way back. But what was interesting is they also broke it down by what is their expenditure in this part of the state, specifically the Jackson, Tennessee, and the Memphis TV markets. And here, Boyd has really outspent Diane Black. $1.2 million for Boyd. $500,000 for Black, and Lee almost as much as Black with $400,000. Read between the lines there. What does that mean?
Well, I read between the lines, and I guess I've been saying this for a while. Diane Black doesn't care anything about West Tennessee. She's trying to win this primary with East Tennessee voters, with suburban Middle Tennessee voters, maybe cutting across to North Tennessee near the Kentucky line, maybe south to the Alabama and Georgia line. She could care less about West Tennessee and Memphis, and that if she wins the nomination, she's going to have to talk about that and answer for that in the general election.
You see it the same way, Lee, or not?
I don't know that she doesn't care about it. They're not spending money here, so that says what it says. But they have a campaign headquarters here. They have a staff here. They're out and about. They're doing things. Maybe they just haven't spent their money here, but they know what they're doing. I don't know that she doesn't care about it. I'm sure
she's never shown any inclination to care about anything. Well, even when she wasn't running for governor, she wasn't caring.
Taking Diane Black out of it, none of the candidates are from West Tennessee. Right. None of the candidates really know what issues we have in West Tennessee, and so they're all going to have to learn about West Tennessee things, and I think eventually you'll see all of them here.
Yet that did not stop Beth Harwell the other day at another forum from saying that don't take down the Confederate statues because it's all about heritage and we need to leave the statues alone. If they don't know anything about Memphis, then why are they telling Memphis what to do and not to do with their public property?
This segment has to be almost complete.
We're almost there. Ryan, I'm going to let you have the final word.
I'll just say that I think their spending shows where they think their bases are. I think Harwell's comments shows where her base is. I think Randy Boyd sees an opportunity in Memphis. So.
But I will say this, based on the interest we get from the campaigns and the context that we have, Boyd and Lee have been the most actively seeking interest in, and I don't know how many visits they've each made to this part of the state, but I would bet they're higher than the other two. And we don't want you to forget at home that we're going to be bringing you a statewide live Republican gubernatorial debate from Nashville. We've been prepping for it. It's a Wednesday at 7 p.m. From Nashville, and it will be, we've been working on the questions, and I can guarantee you we should be able to get some insight, more insight on those 4 candidates who are running. So we hope you'll join us for that. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
My family has been in Shelby County for 5 generations. We're raising the next generation right here.
Daddy, is it time?
No, not yet, sweetie. I was raised in Whitehaven by 2 teachers. They taught me to be a leader and to fight for working men and women.
Now?
No, not yet. I am running for mayor of Shelby County because I believe it's time we invest in education, in students, in the next generation. Okay, now.
This lunch was paid for by Harrisburg County Mayor. You owe me $3.
An accident can happen anytime, and injuries can last a lifetime. That's why we're open right now, because justice never sleeps. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Big news from Captain D's.
Huh? What?
Captain D's now has 5 delicious meals under $5.
Oh, so much deliciousness.
They've got the new Captain Seaside Filet and Butterfly Shrimp.
Ooh, a big crispy filet.
And the new Nashville Hot Fish and Popcorn Shrimp. It's seasoned Nashville style.
It's so good.
Get into Captain D's for 5 meals under $5. Guaranteed to set off taste bud fireworks.
Captain D's,
the taste of the coast.
It's AutoNation's 72-hour flash sale. Right now, get 0% financing for 60 months available on all new 2018 Nissan models.
Hurry! These savings end in a flash.
Only at AutoNation Nissan.
Otis Sanford. Get his point of view. Weeknights on Local 24 News at 5.
It's hard work and sacrifice and never even thinking twice. And it's waving at people you don't know. It's rock, blues, and barbecue. Our Memphis spirit through and through. It's the Mid-South values we hold. Local is your neighbors. Local is your friends. Local is a place you've always been. Local 24. We're local every day.
All right, Democrats, before you call me, we do have the TV spending numbers for those 2 candidates as well for governor. Nashville Mayor Carl Dean, the former mayor, $819,000 so far. And Craig Fitzhugh, House Minority Leader, $12,000 so far on TV ads in his race. All right, that's going to do it for us this week. If you'd like to weigh in on this morning's broadcast or weigh in on future topics for the show, my email address is rransom@localmemphis.com. I'd also like to thank Otis, Lee, and Mr. Poe for being here too. And we'll see you next time for Local 24 this week. Thanks for being here.